Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this virtual meeting of the Cabinet at the London Borough of Hillingdon. This meeting is also being broadcast simultaneously on the Council's YouTube channel, Hillingdon, London. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Councillor Ray Puddifoot and I'm the leader of the Council and chairman of this meeting. Before we start, some important online housekeeping for everyone present. Please ensure that any mobile phones around you are on silent. Please keep your microphone muted when you're not speaking and then unmute to speak. As chairman, I will call on those to speak during the meeting. In terms of technical meeting control, if any cabinet member leaves the virtual meeting partway through for a period of time, through lost connection, etc., I will continue the meeting unless the number drops to below 3 councillors, which would mean we are not quorate. Before we move on to the agenda, I would like to do a roll call of those cabinet members present to confirm attendance to those watching online. Please indicate that you are present when I say your name. Councillor Jonathan Bianco.
Present.
Councillor Susan O'Brien.
Present.
Councillor Keith Burrows.
Present.
Councillor Jane Palmer.
Present.
Councillor Philip Cawthorne.
Present.
Councillor Douglas Mills.
Present.
Councillor Richard Lewis.
Present.
And Councillor Duncan Flynn.
Present.
We also have members of the executive scrutiny in the virtual meeting who will remain silent to listen to the Cabinet's proceedings. Their attendance as observers will be recorded by Democratic Services. We now move on to the agenda. Apologies for absence, please.
All members are present, Chairman.
Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest in matters before us this evening? I will take that silence as a no. And can we receive and agree the minutes of the last meeting? I shall take the minutes as agreed unless there are any comments. In which case the minutes are agreed. Just to confirm, as usual, that there are 2 public reports on the agenda today and 3 reports in private. So moving on to the agenda, part 1, the public papers, agenda item 5, the council budget, the 2019-20 revenue and capital outturn. Councillor Bianco.
Thank you, Leader. Well, this is the year-end revenue and capital outturn for the year 1920, and it shows the final position of the council as at the 31st of March. And the good news, as there's often good news in this area, is that we have come in just short of £2.7 million under budget. This is a significant improvement on the month 11 position of £618,000, and it means that general balances are better than previously expected. In fact, if one looks at paragraph, just working, the delights of, this is the delights of being online here. It shows that we have balances of circa 34 million to start the new year, which is good news. Can I immediately, before going further, move the recommendations that are on pages 8 and 9, all 14 of them. I know you'll speak to most of them, Leader, but in closing what I have to say, that is obviously a very good position to find ourselves in on a capital position. The year ended with an underspend of 28 million, but most of that, well, 2 million of which was actual cost underspends, but the remaining 26 has been rephased going forward. So this is quite a normal position, and it is a good position for us to be in. I think on that point, Leader, I will stop and let you carry on.
Thank you, Councillor Bianco. I think for clarity of all those on this call, what we have done is we have taken the benefit of coming in under budget and set our general balances at 34,240,000, which was the figure that we used in budget setting in February. That gives us a surplus of 3,293,000, which we will carry forward as an earmarked reserve towards any COVID costs. So general balances we have set at the figure we assume they would be in February, and the surplus will be carried forward as an earmarked reserve. Turning to the recommendations, I will move through them. The recommendation 1 is to note the budget position at March 2020, which is the outturn, it being the end of the financial year, including the in-year release of development and risk contingency funds into directorate operating budgets, as outlined in Table 5 on page 16. To ratify a further COVID-19 related emergency decision that I took as leader of the council on the 20th of May to provide interim financial assistance for special educational needs transportation service suppliers during May to July 2020 at a cost of approximately £330,000. Hillingdon currently operates 215 routes providing transportation services to approximately 829 children, looked after children and young people with special educational needs across the borough. Additionally, this includes transportation for older residents to attend outreach and day centre activities. As a result of COVID-19 and the subsequent closure of schools and day centres alongside the strict application of social distancing rules, the demand for these services has significantly reduced. The financial assistance that I approved was in the form of a 40% monthly advance payment based on route revenue that the provider would have received for routes currently not running, plus financial assistance to purchase PPE as an additional requirement to any contract provisions. The reason for this is to ensure that this essential and specialist capacity is retained in the supply chain to support full resumption of transportation services in the future. Cabinet are asked to ratify that decision that I've taken. Recommendation 3, the use of capital receipts to fund transformation as set out in Appendix E is shown on page 44. Recommendation 4 is to note the Treasury Management Update at March 2020, the outturn at Appendix F, and this is on pages 45 to 48. And if I just refer you to paragraph 169 on page 48, compliance with Prudential Code and Prudential Indicators, the Council can confirm that it complied with the Treasury indicators for 2019-20. Recommendation 5, continued delegated authority up until the next Cabinet meeting for myself and the Chief Executive to approve agency and consultancy arrangements and assignments over a £50,000 total. Cabinet's also asked to note those consultancy and agency assignments over 50k approved under delegated authority between the 23rd of April and this meeting. These are detailed in Appendix G, which is shown on pages 50 to 54. Ratify 3 decisions taken in May and June, as set out on page 55, Appendix H. Now, these decisions are 3 cabinet-level contractual decisions taken by myself and the relevant cabinet member under interim or urgency provisions and now require ratification by the cabinet as per the council's constitution. And those decisions were the award of contracts for care and wellbeing services for people with learning disabilities and or autism, the award of a contract for servicing, repairs and maintenance of communal housing and corporate gas heating and hot water installations, and electrical testing, repairs and upgrade contracts for borough-wide. Recommendation 7, approve rephasing of £26,047,000 2019-20 General Fund capital expenditure and financing budgets as set out in Table 20 of the report. That's page 38. This is effectively the carry forward of unutilised capital funding. This happens at the end of every financial year. It's a little more exacerbated this year because a lot of capital funding stopped in March because of the lockdown. Similarly, with recommendation 8 is to approve the rephasing of £26,272,000 of HRA capital expenditure and financing into future years, and that's detailed in Table 19 of the report, page 36. A few grant acceptances. Recommendation 9 to accept the annual grant funding from the Mayor's Office for Policing and Crime, MOPAC, £16,739 per annum as a contribution to the appropriate adult service within Hillingdon. Recommendation 10, approve the acceptance of youth music grant funding totalling £19,175 over 2 years. That's 9950 and 9225 for the years 1 and 2 respectively, from the Music Education Hub Development Fund, which in addition to cash in kind match funding totalling £7,340 will support increased inclusion and engagement in music education for a more diverse group of young people. Approved acceptance of gift funding is recommendation 11. This is planning performance agreement funding, which appears in most cabinet reports, and these are for the following schemes: Stonefield Close Ruislip, £12,000, GSK Stockley Park, £50,000, Harefield Road Wicks Halford site, £40,000, Douglas Webb House, £16,250, and Fraser Court, 7173 Cowley Road, £10,000. Recommendation 12 is to agree that the council donates 28.5k to the Mayor of Hillingdon's Charitable Trust to support local good causes, and further tops this up to make the overall income for the year £100,000. During the year, and because of the result of the pandemic towards the end of the municipal year, the Mayor did not have a civic dinner, did not take part in the annual Mayor's Parade. So taking these things into consideration, the savings within the Mayor's budget and match funding for things like the textiles, which we always put into the Mayor's charity, we have decided that 100k in total should be the Mayor's charity fund this year. Recommendation 13, to accept West London Better Homes capital grant of £40,000 to provide accommodation for single homeless people. And recommendation 14, to accept the 2021 the Rough Sleeper Initiative grant funding from the Ministry for Housing, Communities and Local Government of £2,187,000. Now they are the 14 recommendations, but I would just draw Cabinet's attention to paragraph 8 on page 11. We also cover within this report the dedicated schools grant outturn position, and it has an in-year overspend of £6,510,000. When the 8,492k deficit brought forward from 1819 is taken into account, the cumulative deficit carried forward to 2021 is £15,002,000. This deficit is ultimately underwritten by the Department of Education, as it is not in the control of the council and does not represent a pressure on the council's own resources. Well, as Councillor Bianco indicated, this is a good position to be in. We end the financial year in a far stronger position than many councils, and I would like to take the opportunity to thank both council staff and council members who worked hard to achieve this. Our proven ability to manage both finance and business process is now being tested in the current pandemic, and I'm confident that we will be in a position to deal with this going forward and the challenges that still lie ahead of us. Are there any comments on this report? If not, are the recommendations agreed? I would take that silence as agreement. We will now move on to the next item, agenda item 6, planning obligations, quarterly financial monitoring. Councillor Burrows.
Thank you, Leader. In bringing this to Cabinet this evening, it is our 106 and 278 agreements that we usually get every quarter. But before I do start, I'd just like to point out for those that have been through the actual sheets that were sent out for each portfolio, that they are not currently in portfolio order still to match the changes that were announced to Cabinet members' portfolios. So we will get that corrected for the next quarterly monitoring that comes to Cabinet. You will note that we got 15.3 million relating to 106 and 278 agreements. Of this, just over 4 million is allocated or earmarked for projects, and 3.8 relates to funds that the council holds, but currently we're unable to spend directly, which leaves a residual balance of funds that the council holds to 7.4 million. That's currently spendable, but as yet we haven't actually allocated it towards any specific projects. In Q4, the council has received additional income of 2.05 million, and we spent 2.7 million. With the lockdown now easing, we have noticed a lot of developers coming back to planning department, and things are starting to get busy again, which is very good for Hillingdon and very good for the economy moving forward. As we are talking about planning, Leader, I would just like to take this moment. I know that it's not directly linked to the planning obligations, but it is linked to planning. That our virtual planning meetings, we are getting very good feedback, and I'd just like to congratulate all officers and councillors that have been part of our virtual planning meetings. We've been told they'll run very professionally, very well, and everybody has been very appreciative of Hillingdon running these meetings. With that said, I will just use my usual caveat, Leader, that each cabinet member looks at their portfolios. If there are any monies they think should be moved a bit quicker, either speak to me or to the relevant officers regarding those balances. With that, Leader, I ask Cabinet to note the information as attached at Appendix 1.
Thank you, Councillor Burrows. Are there any comments on this report? If not, I shall take that recommendation as agreed, and we will now move into the private part of the Cabinet meeting. So will councillors please stand by and remain on mute until the live broadcast has ended. Thank you for watching.